Some toys are not for playing. They hold secrets, dark and sinister. Some toys are for fear. They are haunted. They carry the weight of forgotten memories. They whisper, they move, they watch. Dolls are the scariest. Their presence is unsettling, their gaze unrelenting. Their eyes seem to follow you. Piercing through the darkness, they see into your soul. Their mouths seem to smile at you. But it's a smile that chills you to the bone. But their smiles are cold. Their eyes are empty, hollow and devoid of life, yet they seem so alive. These toys were once loved. Now they are forgotten, lost in attics, forgotten in basements, waiting for someone to find them, to awaken their dormant spirits. What happens when they wake up? When the darkness stirs and the toys come to life, will you be ready? The old house stood on a hill, shrouded in mystery and whispers of the past. It had been abandoned for years, its windows dark and lifeless. It was dark and silent, the only light coming from a full moon that cast eerie shadows across the landscape. Inside, a dusty attic held secrets long forgotten. The air was thick with dust, and cobwebs hung like curtains from the rafters. One secret was a doll. Her name was Emily. She was beautiful, with delicate porcelain skin and an air of timeless elegance. She had long black hair that cascaded down her back, and a blue dress that seemed almost new despite the years. But her eyes were strange. They were always open, wide and unblinking, as if they were watching and waiting. The house belonged to a young woman named Sarah. She had inherited it from a distant relative she barely knew. She found Emily in the attic, hidden among old furniture and forgotten memories. What a beautiful doll, Sarah thought. She carefully picked Emily up, feeling a strange connection to the doll. She put her on a shelf in her living room, thinking Emily would be a charming addition to her home. That night, strange things began to happen. Shadows moved on their own, and objects seemed to shift slightly when no one was looking. The air grew colder, and Sarah felt an uneasy presence in the house. Sarah heard whispers. They came from the shelf. She saw shadows move. They looked like a small girl. Sarah was scared. This doll is haunted, she thought. She called her friend Mark. Mark loved mysteries. He came to the house. He brought his camera and a voice recorder. "Let's find out the truth about Emily," Mark said. Section 4. Whispers and Shadows. They sat in the living room. Emily was on the table between them. It was quiet, too quiet. Then the whispers started. They were faint, but they were real. Mark turned on the voice recorder. "Who are you?" Mark asked. The doll's head turned. It looked at Sarah. A cold wind blew through the room. "Emily is not happy," the voice whispered. Section 5. The shocking truth. Sarah screamed. She couldn't help it. The room was dark and the air felt thick with dread. Shadows danced on the walls, and an eerie silence followed her scream. She ran out of the room, her heart pounding in her chest. Mark stayed behind, frozen in place. He was shocked, unable to move, his mind racing with fear and confusion. He looked at the doll, its eyes seemingly following his every move. The doll's presence was unsettling, and Mark felt a chill run down his spine. "What do you want, Emily?" he asked, his voice trembling. The doll smiled, a sinister grin that sent shivers through Mark's body. It was a terrible smile, one that seemed to hold a dark secret. Mark's heart raced as he waited for a response. "I want her life," Emily whispered, her voice echoing in the room. Suddenly the doll vanished into thin air. Mark spun around, his eyes wide with terror. He saw Sarah standing there. Her eyes were empty, devoid of any emotion. Sarah smiled, but it wasn't her smile. It was Emily's smile, a smile that promised nothing but darkness and despair.